What game means to us is something that you can keep playing and get deeper and deeper into and replay and things go differently.
Please don't go.
So that's fundamental to our understanding of what games are. And what's interesting is actually that we can do just about the same amount of that in a mobile game or in a console game that we do in a PC game.
Being known as strategy players is a badge of honor, and it certainly does define where we've come from. And I think that is an area of gameplay that's always going to be good. You know, people want that. People want to be feeling smart when they play a game, and I think that transcends all different other games. So turn-based strategy game provides that, at least the way we interpret it, and I think it's been very obviously successful, but enduring.
There are a lot of really awesome things happen with interactive fiction right now, and I fully believe those are games as well. But I think that really the core of games, what drives the market, is an emphasis on gameplay. I mean, you can't get away from that. The great games are great games, you know, and I think that that's something for us, like we have staked our studio on, we've staked our future on. There's no future for me where gameplay is not what drives the experience. And so, again, that's why it's kind of exciting to see the games that flourish on mobile, you know, to see like us transitioning into this marketplace, because we do believe with every bit of what we do that gameplay is what drives the experience.
Yeah, I think a lot of what you lose on mobile is flash, spectacle, the ability to really like put on a good show, because the screen is smaller, the platform is a little bit weaker, and players aren't using it in the same way. But at Firaxis, that's sort of, we don't really go in for that per se a lot to begin with. We're a company about gameplay depth. The idea of like, you know, sort of boiling away the showy parts and thinking, getting players really into the game experience is what we do here. And so in that sense, it was a natural transition.
I think we're getting into mobile because we want to play cool games on the mobile platform.
Firaxis' first two original offerings are Haunted Hollow, a 1 to 2 player strategy title involving scaring townsfolk with your curated set of classic monsters, and Ace Patrol, a Sid Meieir designed turn-based World War I air combat game. And both are replete with familiar Firaxis elements, but are very conscious about the necessary changes to accommodate for play on mobile. Are you able to experiment, or are you actually finding new things, or maybe trying out things that have been there in the back of your head that just never found its way into a PC game?
That's the beauty of a game that doesn't cost tens of millions of dollars, that publishers are willing to take maybe a few more risks with those titles. So yes, we're able to experiment with ideas that might not get greenlit for a full-blown PC game, but we can experiment with them on a mobile platform. And again, as designers, we enjoy that freedom, and that's part of the fun of making mobile games, is experimenting and innovating and trying new things.
Firaxis and 2K have created sort of this indie studio almost here that we get to do some kind of off-the-wall stuff.
The skunk works.
The skunk works, right. And Firaxis is, I mean, that Sid is like the pinnacle of game development, skunk works, right? He comes to work with new games every other week, you know, these little prototypes, and you can't turn it off with him. He's always sort of building and trying new things, and we, sort of following in that mode, were able to do a similar thing. Developing for iOS was an approach that was a lot like the first time we developed for console. What are the constraints? You know, how do we make the best game for this platform? What are the usage patterns? What are the kinds of people that are going to play? What are some new people we could get to play? And that's kind of where we started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was an exciting transition from like the big, heavy development of a AAA space. It's just like everything's a lot faster, a lot more wild, a lot looser. The metaphor I used when we started was we're on a hockey team now, not a football team. So, you know, faster, crazier, everyone does a lot more personally. But that was really exciting, you know. We played important roles at Big Huge, but we were one of a large crew working on a big game that we couldn't see the edges of a lot of the time. And we don't have that problem on mobile, which is refreshing.
What was kind of the initial reaction here at Firaxis when people were made aware of this move into mobile? I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty there.
I guess there were two reactions. One reaction was, this is really cool. We have the coolest group of gamers here because they are hardcore, real gamers. So they all have ideas and they all have real creative energy. Every single one of them would love to have their own pipeline of product development if they could. Of course, we can't have that many games going on at once. And so they saw this as an opportunity and saying, hey, now maybe there is an opportunity. If I keep thinking about ideas, then maybe there's a chance that I get to try it. I think that was one reaction. The other reaction was, what are we doing? This environment is not what we do. This is these small games that are not a lot of depth, not necessarily our audience. Why are we doing this? Why are we going there?
We think that like quick games and easy games for more casual games like Words with Friends and Angry Birds typified what people expect from games on their phone unfairly. That was the first game, those were the first big successes on those platforms, and now a lot of people think that that's what games should be on the platform. And so I think we're riding the ripple effects of this wave that's gone by of these kinds of games. And there's a lot of companies, not just ours, a lot of people trying to do much weirder, more interesting, more impressive and innovative things.
Our lives today are fragmented, and sometimes we have 3 minutes to play, sometimes we have an hour. So we're designing to that environment. Turn-based works very well there because you can take one turn, or you can take 20 turns, or you can fly 5 missions or half a mission, or that it kind of works well in catering to your environment and the amount of time that you have and what you're doing.
I think when tablet started, people viewed it as a giant phone and played the same kind of games, brief, quick, and then put it down. But now it's become a ubiquitous tool of use for so many ways. People are accustomed to using it, like you say, for like lying on their bed or their couch for minutes or hours at a time.
I think it really takes software, good software, to change how people use the device. I mean, people didn't play games on their computers until there were good games that they could sit. I mean, you wouldn't really think you'd sit in a computer for 2 or 3 hours at a time in an uncomfortable chair, not on your couch. That takes a good piece of software to compel me to do that. So I think there's some preconceived notions about the platform that we want to challenge. Mm-hmm. Not totally throwing out, what all the data suggests about how people use the platform. We definitely want to take that into consideration, but sort of try to push the boundaries a little bit. Find that audience that's going to play a game for a little bit longer, or the just one more turn kinds of players that we really like at Firaxis.
We get a benefit because the other big developers, I think the interface is still really hard, right? Like, how do you play an action game with touch? It's hard. I've played a lot of games like that, and a lot of people have done some really interesting stuff, but with us, we have an interface, touch works perfect. And so that's not because we're so smart. It's because it's a happy accident, right? Like, touch works great.
And I think we know our games, we understand our games, and we know what makes them fun and what things we have to be sure are there, whatever the new platform is. We can keep those core elements and then take advantage of whatever's neat about the technology. But as long as we maintain those kind of core, fun strategy, gameplay depth elements that seem to work for our games, we're confident that the game will be fun on whatever platform we go to.
Tablets, or just the entire mobile space, seems to be in a constant state of change. And I was wondering, how terrifying is that for you guys? Obviously, you've sort of honed a skill set for the current generation of what mobile platforms are, but are you anticipating changes down the line? I mean, you almost have to have sort of an eye on what's happening in the marketplace right now.
Yeah, we think about it not only in context of how fast is the tablet machine getting better and how soon will it converge with laptops or handheld gaming platforms or just the PC eventually, but how are games themselves, how are player patterns converging, and how is video game 2.0 really going to look when the distinction between playing on your sofa on a tablet device versus playing on your sofa on a console starts to become academic. So we think that the mobile space has erupted a lot and is gradually coalescing. It's still really messy. And we are designing games that are going to be fun, regardless of how powerful the platform becomes and how much it can support the kind of software we want to make.
If the platform doesn't work for us from a gaming point of view, then we're probably not going to. But if it does, we're happy to deliver it on any device that someone's going to have fun with, whether that be Android or Windows or other tablets, whatever it might be. If we find a way to deliver the fun experience we've created on it, we're going to do it.
That's part of just the coolness of our industry, that new technology comes along, new platforms come along, and games flow. You know, I have this theory that games are going to take over the world, and someday, you know, your refrigerator will play a game, and every device in your home that has a chip in it will be playing some sort of a game. And you know, so we're looking at mobile, we're looking at console, we're looking at PC, you know, whatever the new box, this box, that box. Those are places that you know, someday we'll put some games on, and we're part of that, you know, taking over the world with game strategy.